Darth Maul was never supposed to live this long. He was meant to die on Naboo, cut in half, remembered only for a cool lightsaber and a menacing stare. But fate had other plans. Because when Maul came crawling back from death, something shifted. He wasn't a Sith anymore. He was something sadder, something more human. For years, fans saw him as the embodiment of vengeance, a walking scar obsessed with killing Obi-Wan Kenobi. But if you look closer, you start to see something else. His revenge wasn't hate, it was heartbreak. Maul wasn't chasing his enemy, he was chasing meaning. He spent his entire life being told who he was, a weapon for Sidious, a servant of the dark, a tool for the Sith. And when all of that was taken away, Maul didn't know how to exist without it. Every battle, every plot, every scream for vengeance was really a desperate search for identity. By the time we see him in Rebels, Maul isn't a villain anymore. He's a ghost, a broken man, clinging to the only thing that ever gave his life purpose. And that's what makes him so haunting, because beneath all the rage and power, he's just a lost soul who doesn't know how to stop hurting. Darth Maul's story isn't about revenge, it's about purpose. It's about how pain becomes identity, and how survival without meaning can be worse than death. In this video, we'll explore how Maul's life was less about hate and more about heartbreak, how his rage was really a cry for belonging, and why his end wasn't defeat. It was finally peace. Darth Maul entered the Star Wars saga like a nightmare made real. Red skin, horns, and a double-bladed lightsaber that defined an entire generation of fans. He was everything a villain should be, silent, deadly, mysterious. And then he was gone, cut in half by a Padawan and tossed down a reactor shaft. For years that was it. Maul existed only as a symbol of wasted potential, a cool design without depth. But when the Clone Wars brought him back, something changed. Maul wasn't just a survivor anymore, he was a man broken by survival. Everyone thought Maul's second life was about vengeance, but it never really was. Sure, he said he wanted to kill Obi-Wan, to destroy the Jedi, to take revenge on Sidious. But those were symptoms, not goals. What Maul actually wanted was meaning. He had been trained since birth to serve the Sith, moulded by Palpatine's cruelty, and then discarded like a failed experiment. When your entire identity is built around obedience, what happens when your master stops giving orders? Maul's hatred of Obi-Wan wasn't just about losing on Naboo. It was about losing direction. That moment wasn't just the end of his body, it was the death of his purpose. Maul's rage was the only thing keeping him alive, and that's what made him tragic. He wasn't seeking justice or power, he was trying to fill a void that had consumed him since the day he was cut in half. When we first see him return in the Clone Wars, he's a creature, not a man. Driven insane, talking to himself, clinging to hatred because it's the only thing left that feels real. His spider legs are a metaphor for that state, an unnatural, painful existence, built on scraps, surviving out of spite. It's horror, but it's also heartbreak. And when Savage Opress finds him, Maul's first instinct isn't to rebuild an empire, it's to find Obi-Wan. He thinks killing his old enemy will fix something inside him, like vengeance can patch a broken soul. But when that fails, he doesn't find peace. He just finds another mission, another obsession. Revenge wasn't Maul's goal, it was his addiction. Every time Maul achieves something, he sabotages it. He builds an army of criminals, only to lose it. He conquers Mandalore, only to be dethroned. He duels Sidious, only to be humiliated. And through it all, his rage keeps him moving, but never forward. It's the illusion of purpose without the substance. That's the great tragedy of Darth Maul. He doesn't realise he's chasing meaning in all the wrong places. He's fighting for power when what he really wants is peace. He's searching for validation from a galaxy that only remembers him as a monster. And that's what makes him one of Star Wars' most human villains. Because Maul isn't evil for the sake of evil. He's a man trying to justify his pain. He doesn't want to destroy the galaxy. He just wants it to notice he still exists. If you look at Maul's life after the Clone Wars, it's one long spiral of misplaced ambition. He goes from Sith apprentice to warlord to fugitive, and yet every path leads to the same emptiness. In Rebels, when we see him older, weaker, and more desperate, the mask finally slips. Maul isn't the predator anymore. He's the ghost of a man who never stopped running from himself. His relationship with Ezra Bridger is one of the most fascinating in all of Star Wars. Maul sees in Ezra what he once was, a lost boy searching for purpose. But instead of freeing Ezra from that pain, he tries to mold him into another version of himself. It's the same cycle Sidious used on him, repeated without even realizing it. Because Maul doesn't know how to exist without control. He was never taught compassion, only dominance. When he calls Ezra apprentice, it's both pathetic and tragic. He's not trying to corrupt him, he's trying to feel relevant again. To Maul, teaching someone means he still matters, that he's still part of the great story he was cast out of. Every manipulation is really a cry for connection. And that's where Maul differs from characters like Vader or Dooku. Vader had redemption waiting for him through Luke. Dooku had ideology, a sense of superiority that justified his choices. Maul had nothing. His master replaced him, his enemies forgot him, and the galaxy moved on. He was a villain without a narrative, and that's what destroyed him more than any lightsaber ever could. Even his obsession with Obi-Wan evolves from hatred into something almost sacred. Maul spends years searching for Kenobi, not just to kill him, but because Obi-Wan is the last link to his past. Maul needs him to exist, because without that rivalry, there's nothing left anchoring him to reality. It's poetic, in a dark way. When Maul finally finds Obi-Wan on Tatooine, he expects another grand battle, an epic clash of destiny. But Obi-Wan ends it in seconds. It's not a duel, it's mercy. And in that moment, Maul finally understands. His purpose was never revenge, it was closure. His life wasn't stolen by Kenobi, it was consumed by the Sith who created him. The way Maul dies is quiet, almost peaceful. He rests in Obi-Wan's arms, and his final words, "He will avenge us," aren't about hate. They're about legacy. Maul sees Luke as the one who will end the cycle that enslaved them both. For the first time in his life, Maul feels like he's part of something greater than himself. And that's the real tragedy of Darth Maul. It took him dying to realise he didn't need vengeance to matter. He just needed to let go. When you look at Maul's story as a whole, it's less about power and more about the consequences of being denied identity. From the moment he was taken by Sidious, his fate was sealed. He was born into servitude, trained to hate, and denied any version of love or self-understanding. His entire existence was designed to serve someone else's ambition. The Sith talk about freedom, but they create slaves. Maul was proof of that hypocrisy. He wasn't a partner, he was a product. Sidious didn't train him to succeed, he trained him to be expendable. And that's why Maul's survival after Naboo was so powerful. He wasn't supposed to live long enough to question who he was without a master. When Maul builds his own empire on Mandalore, it's not just about revenge, it's about control. He's trying to recreate the only structure he ever knew. Crime lords, soldiers, apprentices. It's all a reflection of his own trauma. He doesn't know how to build, only how to dominate, because that's all he's ever seen. But even in his cruelty, there's a strange sense of longing. Maul shows moments of mercy, of confusion, of almost tenderness. His bond with Savage, twisted as it was, is the closest he ever came to love. And when Savage dies, Maul's scream isn't rage, it's heartbreak. Because once again, something he cared for was taken from him. It's easy to see Maul as a villain, but he's more of a mirror. He shows us what happens when purpose is replaced by pain. The Jedi taught detachment to avoid suffering. The Sith taught indulgence to mask it. Maul is caught in between, a man who can't stop hurting because it's the only thing that makes him feel alive. His story becomes a warning about cycles of abuse and power. Every time he tries to rise above his past, he repeats it. Every time he gains freedom, he chains himself to another obsession. That's not evil, it's tragedy. And yet Maul's death gives him something the Sith never promised. Peace. Obi-Wan, his lifelong enemy, becomes the one person to comfort him. The irony is beautiful and haunting. The Jedi who destroyed him is the only one who truly understands him. Darth Maul never found the purpose he was looking for. But maybe he didn't need to. Maybe his story's meaning was in what it revealed about everyone else. The Jedi's blindness, the Sith's cruelty, and the galaxy's tendency to discard those it breaks. In the end, Maul wasn't the monster of his story, he was its victim. And that's why his tragedy still echoes long after his lightsaber fades.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.